Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Jeronimo Terife. Jeronimo! I'm in show site right now. Omar Column told me to share some of the tools of the trade that I use, my WorkBox and the things that I use for work at work site. I don't have a one-fits-all kind of solution because I work in many different industries within production. Depending on the gig, I prep my WorkBox. So I have different size WorkBoxes, but the one that I'm going to show you right now is like the everyday one. That's the one that travels with me even internationally most of the times. But sometimes logistically it doesn't work in certain countries and within a country or even within the US. So I have to adapt to that. So the way I work it is in my own shop. I prep for whatever upcoming shows, just like everybody else. We're going to be in the road sometimes indefinitely. You're doing 3 shows in a row, something might pop up or a change or something. So I'm always ready for the challenge of what's coming up. So I prep if I'm doing projection, widescreen blending. I do a lot of large scale projection, curved screens, all sorts of unconventional projection mapping and things like that with big heavy projectors, 30Ks. Now I'm working with a 40K. I do LED. I'm not necessarily the LED expert guy, but I know everything I need to know about LED. I try to stay away from the LED tech position because I don't really enjoy it that much, but I need to know everything about it. So I work with different products, 2.6 mil, 3 mil, all sorts of different things. The gig that I enjoy the most and what I do the most is TD and switching, working as with spiders, E2s, ascenders. Now I'm learning the Aquilon, kind of multi-screen, multi-source, multi-destination. In this gig I'm doing E2. It's a single E2, but I had to put a bunch of Gen 2 cards. I got a bunch of processors. Every single one of the 4K processors, I got splices for main and backup of everything. So I got another main and backup right here, and this is the other main and backup. This is the backup of this madness, which I try to keep as neat as possible. I don't want anything hanging. Everything goes through handles, all that kind of stuff. I would say 30% of my business is in South Florida. Not necessarily my backyard. I live between Miami and Fort Lauderdale. But depending on what I'm doing, the weight on my case kind of varied. So on this particular gig, I'm like quadruple tasking. But I'm doing the switching. This is my console. I lock it overnight so people don't mess with my stuff. Shading cameras, monitoring recording, and doing camera ISOs. Let me show you the set a little bit. So this is what we got. This is some 3.9 mil. These are see-throughs. These are outdoor product, but they work fantastic. This is 2.6 mil. Sorry, I don't have much time. I woke up at 4 a.m. so I can do this. So I'm gonna run through things. I have various type of pelicans. Usually the 1510 is like the most popular because people sometimes don't like to check in the work boxes. I understand that. So certain international flights, certain things I have to, which means I cannot bring certain tools either. So no screwdrivers, no pliers. My Leatherman can't come. Things. It really annoys me. So I try to always check in my bags or my work boxes, or I try to ship my work box to the client domestically within the U.S. or arrange it in a way where they ship it with their couriers or whatever, the containers, if it's a tour or something like that. The way I really get what I want to take, and I'm not constrained by weight, like the 50-pound limit. And I have a portable scale that, by the way, I did not bring today. This puppy always weighs 49 pounds because 50 pounds is like the limit. And we don't get to fly first class all the time. Sometimes the client upgrades you, sometimes the airline, I travel a lot, so I get upgraded constantly, but you never know. Sometimes it's still gonna be that connector flight that you can't. So 49 is the limit. I also notice a lot of airlines are doing weird stuff. Their scales are wear and tear, so it's a half a pound or a pound off, and that always creates an issue, and I don't want to pay that extra $150 for a pound. So what I do is that I measure the sucker at 49. I have 2 things. My workbox is not one component. My workbox is this cat. I put a Trek Pack on it, which is like a custom thing that you can actually use even on off-brand. They don't have to be Pelican. They can be other brands. They make similar molded plastic. I chose the Air. This guy is kind of big, and people say, oh, your workbox is too big, but you know what? Jobs are getting more and more challenging, and I've been burned way too many times. I do not have time for that. One of the things that has happened to me, for example, I got fancy work boxes from the client with all sorts of components and things that we usually get. This is this is the one for audio. Everybody gets their fancy thing, but then guess what? Somebody didn't pack it right. Operations didn't pack it right, or customs, or whatever. It's domestic or international, and now the work box is in the belly of a 52-foot container. And I need measuring tapes, and I need all sorts of things. One of the things is that this puppy is the 1615. I chose this one because it's the new Air, and the Air is a lighter molded product. So even though it's still Pelican, it's a little more. It's actually pretty malleable. I tell you, there will be a challenge of destroying a WorkBox. This thing is probably been in about 60 countries, and I don't know how many hundreds of cities in the US, and it's still alive. This is actually the longest running WorkBox I had. It's 2 years old. This one particularly, this is Show Savior number 8. I always prep according to what's about to come, and get the right tools and the right things, and you kind of want to know what airports or challenges you have logistically. My steel toe boots, actually these are composite, these are 511s. I consider part of my uniform. I've been doing this production industry for almost 30 years. One day I did not wear my steel toe boots, and somebody dropped a 50-pound base on my toe, and I was out of commission for almost 5 months learning how to walk again. So right now I'm wearing the regular shoes, but when there's things coming in and out, I don't trust anybody. I wear this. This is a portable light, so like 1,000 lumens, you know, battery ran. Sometimes we're backstage or whatever, and we don't have a light, or we don't have any working light. The sucker's pretty effective. Hammock. My good friend, Mr. Tim Naus, media server extraordinary, told me, Geronimo, you're doing rock and roll, you're doing arena shows, portable hammock. This thing has saved my butt and gave me a place to sleep under a stage. This portable light actually lives in my backpack. It's actually USB, and Drew Kinghorn took me to it. It actually has a dimmer, and it's super bright. You can power it from your laptop. So this is like a, and I put like a phone cube to it, so if I don't have a work light, this becomes my work light. So I got, this is my Stream Deck that I use with Companion, and with our product with Mr. Greg Maxwell from If Elsewhere. So all our AV playback, actually this runs natively. It's a controller that you can basically assign macros and multiple commands. Like I want this button to be, I want the switcher to take this source, and at the same time I want this playback unit to hit play on that particular track. So that's something that's very useful right now for multiple applications. I got a wireless router. This is not the one that lives in this box. The one that lives in this box is a little slimmer. It's this dude, and always have my own wireless router. One of the things that I never bury my wireless router on a truss. I don't care what the client says, I don't care what anybody says. If there's Cat 5, I'm running 2 lines, a main and a backup, and that sucker goes down. I put, you know, dumb switches on the truss. I got burned like that too, where there was power outages and things like that, and I could not get to my unit and reset it. So I'm not doing that again. I got a couple of wireless mouse. What I did is I repurposed this Shure in-ear 215s, 315s. They work perfectly for your mouse, with wireless mouse. One of the things I do to every component that's on my WorkBox, this applies to everything, I invert the batteries inside, because things get clicked, like your meters and your, you know, laser testers and optical cable testers and all that stuff. So everything's inverted, so no matter what, none of my stuff runs out. I got a couple versions of little tabletop tripods. This one came with a DJI device, but these are great for little cameras, little spy cams that you put on downstage monitors, or if you need to mount it somewhere, it's just an easy solution. I also got this one. Later on, I'll show you guys brands and things. If anybody wants to see anything fancy, just text me about it. This is a Gen 10. It's a Gen log generator. This is what happens when we use multiple screens. When you do blends, sometimes we do, you know, 10 projected blends, 12, 8, 5, 3, 4. And we use media servers. In this case, we're using this Milumen product, but we're using this data path units that allow you to basically have multiple outputs from that one computer, and it's kind of a manager for the pixel counts that like you saw that LED that I showed you. It requires multiple, it's not a 1080, so it requires multiple sources to create that. So sometimes things drift, and sometimes you get tears, because you have to map your content differently. So this sucker right here is Gen 10. I have saved my butt countless times. This one, I believe, only it's limited to the refresh rate I can use, but so far I've been using it for all sorts of stuff. So hippos and all sorts of media servers. You sync it with your E2 and whatever upstream, you know, camera switcher you use. You want to have things in sync. You have to have kind of somebody that's in command of making sure all your frames are synced. So you, especially when you're doing large canvases, like I said, because you get tears, so you see lines and things. That happens because things are not in sync. That sucker always troubles with me when I'm doing this kind of shows. I got a couple versions of this. This is kind of the bigger one. Just doesn't travel all the time with me. And I have even one bigger that has a spinning wheel with a green laser. But you know, this is my level to do cross-hatch stuff, so it allows me to, you know, level projection, LED walls. One of the things that I learned the hard way, never trust even floors, because I've done many hotels around the world and locally, domestically in the US, where the floor was not leveled and everything is kind of wacky. 1 inch, you know, at disproportion to the scale, it's nothing, but by the time it hits the floor or the roof, it might be a couple feet, things like that. So, and also for projection blending, you want to know what your centers are. You kind of want to know when you're stacking projectors, everybody has kind of a different center, especially when you're doing curve. That gets pretty crazy when you do either concave or convex projection screens. The projector positioning is no longer straight, so it kind of has angles and things, so this sucker keeps you in play. When I work as a projectionist, so LED guy, or even broadcast sometimes for certain things, this is the Big Papa chroma meter with the sensor that you know, that's how you make sure that all your whites and your blacks are in place with a projector, because sometimes people go with eyesight and they're like, oh, the settings are the same, I loaded the same template or the same preset, and you know what, it doesn't work like that, because sometimes, you know, the different bulb lives, the different wear and tear, you know, there's a history behind every projector and LED panel. So this allows you to adjust your X and your Y and get things in line so everything looks the same. So I never trust your eye. I always go by numbers, I always go by meters, and if the meter's off and it looks stupid, you know, then you go a step further and you trust some of your instinct. But I go by numbers, I go by testers and things. This guy is kind of big and intense, but I'll show you a couple things. This is always with me. I recommend you always have a version of this, because when you, I don't want to go in and out of the venue that I'm working for 5 or 6 days, you know, so I just lock things in. I have a set of TSA locks for this guy. One of the things that I did is when I bought this Pelican Air, you have the option of getting colors. I got green, blue, whatever. So I got red, so I can see my case from distance. And if anybody's grabbing my case or backstage, I can see it. I know where it is. So I got the TSA locks. But when I'm in show side, I don't get the flimsy ones because those kind of get cut. So I got good ones. There's a bunch of things that I'm using right now. This is actually a headset that I really enjoy. This guy's from Point Source. It's kind of a bulky bag, but I bought a bunch of different adapters for different comm, because sometimes you use ClearComm, RTS, Rydell, this, that. So I got this guy's Marketech, and another friend of mine in Orlando make me like you know, 4-pin to 4-pin female, 5 male to 5-pin male, you know, all sorts of configurations. So I can use any headset in the planet, any belt pack in the planet, and not be concerned about it. I got my own little light, LED. I know it's heavy, so it doesn't go everywhere, but it goes some places. I got too much stuff in here. I got these little Pelicans, so I got for video stuff. These are like SD fiber barrels. I got stubbies. These are all like 75 ohm. I ditch all the cheapy 60 ohm stuff. I only have some 50s for antennas and things like that. And I got, you know, terminators and all sorts of different adapters. I got these weird ones that you think you're never gonna need, and then one day you need them. I got some for fiber. I got this IL-19s, which audio guys love. Sometimes I'm not necessarily directly related to the audio department, but I'm dealing with buzzes and hums and things from feeds that I'm getting, so this guy would help my world. I got a little ground lifter. I usually carry a female to female, male to male. I got this last one has, oh sorry guys, I don't have an operator's me. I got you know, this is for Ethercon stuff, so it's just cat 6 or cat 5. It's barrels. I got HDMI throughs. I got DVI. This all my DVI, DVI-D, and these are, I got both ways. So I got this guy and this guy. I got a HDMI DA, a 1x4 4K. I got all my HDMI DAs on 4K 60 now, so I don't have to deal with nonsense. I got a bunch of crap in here. I got this guy's a sniffer. It's a peer-to-peer, so you check audio snakes or XLR cables. Sometimes we use XLR cables for other things like speaker timers and all sorts of stuff. So it's a peer-to-peer. You put a one end, the other end, and this will light up all three. And if a pin is bad, you know that cable's not working. I'm big into testing. I don't run anything over 50 feet without testing it. So whatever I'm running, I test it. I got some of these dudes that they're doing concerts and things, people going deaf. So I use this guy. Sometimes my handheld camera operators, they can't really have a dual muff, so they need to mute one of their ears, and sometimes music is really crappy. I got crazy glue. I got this Velcro stuff I always keep with me. It saves my butt when things need to stick to things. I got AAA, AA's. Actually, this is my utility belt that this company Stealth Gear USA makes it for gun holsters and stuff. This thing's been with me for 4 years. It works like a charm. You use a 1-inch flashlight and any standard, it's like a single mag size. Fantastic. 1000 lumen flashlight. Blinds people, but I don't care. You can see what I need to see. I got every adapter in the planet I could find and collect for all sorts of things. I actually always keep this guy. Lighting guys love me because I save their asses. I got for the DMX 5-pin to 3-pin, and I got all sorts of 4K, you know, display port to HDMI. I got, I mean, I'll make a photo and show you guys later what all the fancy things I got, but I got every freaking thing I could find. For adapters, I got this stuff for, you know, for usually when people use headsets, stuff like that, for audio guys, to conceal. Sometimes you cannot use like vampire tag stuff for concealing of comm, or sometimes headsets get all crazy, so I got some of this tape. I got some safeties. They're really lightweight, but they have saved my butt to do smaller things that I need to rig. And some bunch of stuff I'm not going to be able to show you. You know, one thing that I do always carry, I got the tile product. I put one on my WorkBox and one on my backpack, so I can track it with my phone. So if my backpack or anything leaves sight or goes anywhere, I can track it with this guy. So I got GPS tracker. I got some more cables, adapters, turnarounds, things that I needed for this particular gig. Oh, okay. On this one I have a little, sorry, the video's jiggity, but it's what it is. Got a little dumb switch. I got my disto, you know, to measure all my distances and stuff and confirm things. I got, what is this thing? I don't even know what it is. Okay, this is a power meter. I don't have the fancy fluke on this gig because I'm not the ME on this one, or I'm not necessarily doing the fancy stuff, but I always meter all my power before I hook up, you know, $300,000 worth of gear. This is an ST fiber tester that allows you to see if there's light going through, if there's a break on like a TAC 12, 8, 6 or whatever we're using. So this allows you to see and verify signal. Let's see what else I got this one, which is just my screwdriver. This one has a clutch, so I love it because it has a clutch. And I got a bunch of other utility screwdriver things of all sorts and different bits and stuff. Color chart right here, so for cameras and stuff, just to match things. So I use this for film or TV. It's really small, but it's mostly for small interviews and things. But sometimes I don't have a big chip chart, so I have to use something. So I got my colors, my whites and grays, just to balance cameras. Okay, I carry these guys all the time if I can. The decimator boxes. I repurposed this Line 6 cases. They're made for wireless handheld mics. And I carry a couple of decimators. I order the new 4K versions. But this puppies, save your butt. I got carry 4 of them. Right now on this show, I'm using 3. But these are all Home Depot pouches. Okay, got a 100-foot, you know, tape. This is a thing, you know, if you are on a truss or you anywhere height above people's heads, I carry one of these. I bought them in Amazon. 3 for like 20 bucks. They carry up to 15 pounds. This guy straps right here to my belt. I got my C-wrench. When you're doing things and screws fall into stuff, got this guy with a little magnet so I can pick up that screw that just fell, we can crack up things. Level for projection or anything that requires leveling. This one has a magnet, which I like. I actually just got this one. It's measuring tape, but it has a self-locking thing. They always break, and you always gotta like press them and they snap, and sometimes they break the tape. I love this one. I just got it, and it just stays. And the numbers are huge because my vision is not getting that great. I usually carry binoculars when I'm doing like curved screens or projection screens, so I can actually zoom in. I don't have those with me, and I also have a single line one that this guy's to splice cable. Like I said, not all this stuff travels everywhere, but it's a local show for me. So I got a millimetric and the standard for my hex stuff. Cotter. Okay, what else? That comm I didn't show it to you is this guy. The point source that goes in this case. This dude. I really get headaches when I get that pressure or the brain crusher. This guy's pretty good because he uses in-ear and it has like a 3 driver in it. This one is the big one because it's the dynamic. This one works with everything. There's a fancy one that has like the slim mic, but it's a condenser mic. Not all comm systems work. But I love this one because I can release one ear or the other, do both. Got a multi-tester. This guy goes everywhere with me. It has everything, you know, speak on, MIDI, DMX 5-pin. I mean, BNC, RCA. I mean, I can test pretty much anything with this guy. I got what is this? Let me see. Okay, this is the smaller level I was telling you, just for references. But I think, okay, I didn't invert the battery on this one apparently, but that's just to help you level. It has a little gimbal on it. This one, I always have this one because it has saved my butt many times. It's basically a camera. It's a 1080 camera. It's an 80i, but it's a Marshall. But it has already built-in SDI. One of them does standard video, the other one is SDI, so it can be 720 or 1080. But you know, it's just the power. I put it on one of those stands that I show you, and I can put it pointing at downstage monitors and things that I cannot really get a bird's eye, and I need to know that it's actually working. This one is fantastic. It's also from this guy's from Decimator. It's a quad split. So sometimes stage managers is like, oh, I want to see camera 1, and I want to see what's on this monitor, and I want to see the main camera, so I see when the client is coming out because I'm backstage, so I can customize. I quad with whatever they need. Sometimes I grab you know, in one of the quads I got this guy, and the other quad this, and then I send them whatever cameras or whatever they want. Okay, this one has all sorts of cables and things. This is gonna be a disaster. I got like fiber. This one's got LC fiber to SD fiber. This yellow one. It's kind of messy, but you see the 2 adapters right there. I got like every combination of USB because USB cables go bad and things go bad. So I got the standard 2. I got you know, the mini and the micro. It's falling everywhere. Got some of these SD fiber also like dual. So ST to LC. I got a bunch of Cat 5s. Actually, this is cool because I found this on we call it this is an extension from my headset, which sometimes I need it. And sometimes graphic operators need to have that beeping sound for their perfect cues and things like that. Or, you know, I need it for extending something to save my butt a couple times. This guy, I've got a slim, this is a 4K 60 HDMI. Use this guy. And I found this in Amazon. That's pretty cool. What's up, Mr. Manny? This is Manny R82. Hey, good friend of mine for 20 years. So these are actually can carry 4K 60, and I tried them already. They says that they're only spec to 4K 30, but they do. But they're really slim. These are SDI, so I use them for testing and things like that. Cat 5 tester. I like this one because it's peer-to-peer. Sometimes I have all the Cat 5 testers, but basically, you know, one point and the other point. But what I like about this one is that you can detach it. So sometimes the cable's already ran, and you have 5 ran. You know, this will do peer-to-peer, like the tester that I show you for audio. So you can do it, you know, like this. It's next to you, you see all the pins at work, but sometimes the cable's already ran. So this would tell you what's bad or good. This is an Atomos fancy field recorder, but I use it as a test unit. I got my 2 lithium batteries right there. I got this handle that I took from a Lowell kit. I put a little SDI right there. This guy, I put like a cinema frame to protect it from getting banged. This thing is fantastic. I use it as a tester for 1080 or 4K signals. You'll take HDMI in or out, SDI in or out, and with the new firmware that Atomos did, I can actually do quad recording, meaning I can have 4 individual 1080s split in 4 right here. So sometimes this guy, I can even switch a show with this camera recording. But what I do is that depending on the show, I actually create test patterns that I can generate. So it's not formally a test pattern generator or whatever, but it just, I don't care what you send to it, it gives you frame rates, it tells you exactly what's coming in, it works. So what I do is on the SSD, I build a test pattern, you know, that correspond to what I actually need. I just do it on my computer, dump it to it. It works. That power strip always travels with me. This guy is fantastic. It has a USB built in, and it's so wide that you can put any connector that you want on it. I carry the wheels because this guy gets busy. I put a laptop back here, and then it has a Pelican component. It's actually a Pelican. So I put my 2 laptops here. So this is a Surface Pro. I love this case. It's like a rugged case. So he's trying to run projectors and things remotely, and you know, it's a good tablet type product. This is my MacBook Pro, also with a similar casing. And that laptop right there that I'm using to run this thing actually runs in the back. So I usually run 3 laptops wherever I go, national, international. This usually don't travel. These are the chargers for the batteries for the Atomos, and the batteries for my flashlight, so they're rechargeable. This is an SSD little drive. I mean, guys, sorry, it's too much crap. I also have a bunch of cables and components and things in here. My personal headsets. I got my little, you know, first aid kit. What else I got? This thing I bought every time when I'm on site. You know, little juice bag. This is 16,000 milliamps. I can charge my phone like 6 times with this thing. Just more components, and this for my beard so I can look sexy all the time for you guys. Not for you guys, but whatever. I got here. I carry the extra locks, like the locks I was showing you for this guy. I usually carry them right here. Little USB speaker, so I don't go insane listening to crappy music or nothingness. I got all sorts of versions of freaking thumb drives. One of the ones that I like the most are the ones that have USB-C and USB, the standard connectors on it. Oh, this reel not supposed to be here. This reel actually lives in here. All sorts of Sharpies and medicine. Let's see what else I got here. Cedrin, and this one has like anti-diarrhea medicine and Alka-Seltzer and all sorts of stuff. If you don't have anything on your first aid kit, oh crap, carry this guy. This liquid bondage. If you get a cut or anything, this guy will create basically, it's pharmaceutical crazy glue for your skin, but trust me, you need that. This guy goes through my belt and goes here, so it's always with me. And I just have a heavy carabiner, and I bought all this small gaff, different colors. So for example, camera 1 is color coded. You know, these cameras are color coded. Graphics are color coded. You know, I make things easy. Playback is color coded, and they're slim. So this guy goes right here, blam. And when I need tape, mini gaff, e-tape, every color you need. It's my coffee machine. And that's aux box, guys. I love this thing. I got my own coffee machine because of hotel coffees. Yeah. Important things. You are your WorkBox. You are the WorkBox. I mean, clients hire me because they know I'm prepared. You know, have your own tools. There's always a cheap version of stuff, so I don't want excuses. When somebody, a guy that I'm giving a shot to work with me, asks me for my Leatherman, my Sharpie, I'm like, dude, I got 3. You know, I said, where's your freaking Sharpies? I got the silver one that the audio guy actually needed to put on the left. I got the thin tip, but the center tip, and I got like 8 more. So I don't want to hear it. You got to have your stuff. That's cheap stuff. That's things you just need to have. So no excuses. Be prepared. Imagine if your plumber goes to your house charging you 150 bucks an hour. It's like, hey dude, you got a flat head? It doesn't work like that. I mean, you got to have your tools. You got to have the things that you need to make the show happen. Prepare yourself. Look at the workbook for the show. Look at the wiring diagram. Look at the pull sheet from the client. One of the things that I notice is that a lot of people get closed up and they don't teach. And I have 2 versions, personal evaluations that I have. People that don't teach, either they don't really know that much and they kind of be faking it for a long time, and everybody thinks they know, but they're afraid that somebody will find out, or they just have a bad attitude because, you know, everybody that knows has no problem teaching. If you want to grow up in a position, you want to become the EIC, the big guy, or whatever position you are, you know, aspiring to in whatever department you're aspiring to, show up early, meet the lead, know who that guy is, tell him that you want to learn. Don't bust him, don't bother him, but observe, walk around, see what's going on, make sure you're seeing, learning. That's how you're gonna learn. That's how we all learn. You know, one of the things that happened to me, unfortunately, my dad died when I was 13. And one of the things I live by is, you know, be the father that I would like to have had. Same thing as a lead. You know, be the guy that you will call for tech support kind of attitude. Have that attitude that you're willing to help everybody and and we want everybody to get better because at the end of the day, we're all part of the same team. Peace out. Thank you, Omar, for the opportunity. I love you, buddy. Take care.